Then I'd ask the board of directors just stand and wait until I get through all of them. Kathy Weichner is vice president. Liz Hoffman, treasurer. Christine Anderson, secretary. Not with us today, but Aaron LeClaire is the Door County Emergency Services. Amy Connolly. Almost, Amy. I almost did it. United Way. And it gets worse. I've still got Marty ahead of me. Joe Krebsbach, Door County, and Joe is not with us either today. Marty Olnichek? Close. Anyway, City of Sturgeon Bay. Nancy Doust, Door County Medical Center, also not with us today. Betsy Bayer, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. David Leestra, Sturgeon Bay United Methodist Church. And Jane Jandren, Nicolay National Bank. This is our board of directors. Thank you. And then the real heart and soul of Door Tran are the next individuals that I will introduce. Our mobility manager, Pam Bush. Our volunteer coordinator, Kim Gilson. Our mobility manager assistant, Nikki Voigt. And not with us today, Kayla Lehman is our financial manager. And I don't think, is Barb here? Barb? Oh, there you are. And Barb Schaefer is here, our office volunteer. Sorry, I lost you in the faces. So some background on where we are from 2018. We completed an Easter Seals project during the year. We had a group of people come together. We called a trip. And out of that, we came up with two different groups. The Education and Marketing Committee that had some objectives that were developed, and the Coordination and Expansion Committee. Pam is going to go through how these ended up, but just a little bit. We were looking to increase contacts with Door Tran. This was any type of contact at all, walk-in, telephone, social media. We're looking to increase riderships on all forms of public transportation and increase utilization of transportation assistance. This is the vouchers and different programs that we have going in. And Pam will update on how we did on each of those goals. The Coordination Expansion Committee objectives: perform 25 shared rides with clients from 2 or more agencies between July and December of 2018, prioritize unmet needs. And this is one of the biggest areas that we're trying to get a good handle on. What are those needs that we are unable to meet? Sometimes we know them, sometimes we don't. Some calls may come into location and we don't ever know about the call, and it was not able to be met. Develop a local coordination system to oversee dispatch and funding by December of 2019. So that one is still ongoing. So those are the things that we have been working on, and you will get further updates on all of those. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Liz Hoffman, and Liz will give us an update on the financials.
Good morning. My name is Liz Hoffman. I'm the treasurer of the board of directors of Door Tran. I have been for just about 5 years now. Every year I learn some new things. It's a very dynamic organization. It's growing, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Tran is an independent 501(c) nonprofit organization. The income and expenses for last year, our last completed year of 2018, were right about on our budget. We did book a small net surplus, so in the pluses and the minus column, we have just a tiny little bit more on the pluses, which is the way we like to end up each year. Our 2019 budget is projected to be around $330,000, both income and expenses. This is equivalent to last year. Last year was substantially more than the prior year, mostly due to our Easter Seals grant that we received of $100,000. We split that between last year, right around $50,000, and this year, right around $50,000. Stan did mention that in his comments, and Pam will be talking a little bit more about what we did with that money. But that has increased our budget, at least through last year and this year as well. We have ongoing funding sources. The bulk of it is federal funds. We get money for a new Freedom Grant, which is also called Section 5310. Those are federal funds which are administered by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. That helps pay for our mobility management, our half-price voucher system, and part of our countywide volunteer transportation system. We also get federal funding through the 5311 grant, which is also administered by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. This supports our zero-interest car loan program. We also get some money from United Way of Door County, which supports our volunteer transportation program. We also get money from Door County, which gives us money to help operate the Veterans Transportation Program. We also get support from some other nonprofits, the Door County Community Foundation, the Archibald Douglas Trust, the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation, the R. Bruce and Alice S. Copseeker Trust, and also Bader Philanthropies, as well as a number of individual donors and volunteer drivers and fundraising events that we have several throughout the year. We receive, in addition to those funding sources, we also receive fares from some of our riders, both for the volunteer transportation program as well as the half-price voucher program, where the rider will pay half of the voucher price. We also get payments for our zero-interest loans. We get payments from the people that take out those loans as they progress through their car ownership. But one of our invaluable things that we get every year is hundreds and hundreds of hours from our volunteers and our help in our office, as well as our board directors, are all volunteers that we could not make our programs happen without, and we're very, very thankful for those. One of our challenges every year is the federal funding that we do receive, which is the bulk of our federal funding, is delayed in that we actually have to spend our funds and then put a report into the government, and then they take their time, usually between 3 to 6 months, to reimburse us for that money. And so we have what we call cash flow issues every year. And so we do have some money in the bank that allows us to get through those periods of time where we are putting money out and haven't yet received reimbursement. So that is one of our challenges every year, which we seem to match, or at least have done so far. We do hire independent CPA, Inga Alverson, to look at our books every single year. She also prepares our 990 tax return, and she does a review to the board of directors every year, right around mid-year. If anyone would like to see our financial reports, stop by the office at any time. We do also post the most recent 990 up on our website, so it's available up there as well. Does anyone have any questions on our financials? Pretty standard, although a little bit challenging every year. All right, thank you very much. I'd like to turn the program over now to Pam Bush.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time to be with us today and for taking interest in what Tran does and what we're all about. So thank you. I do want to mention that Laddie Chapman is volunteering today to videotape our meeting. We were thankful that he reached out to us. He will be previewing what he taped today at 7 o'clock on Sunday on channel 986 You can also view what he videotapes today on YouTube at doorbell.net. Okay, so thank you, Laddie. I do want to take a moment to recognize two individuals who aren't with us at this year's meeting. One is Ken Wendt, who has been a volunteer driver for years. He drove for the American Red Cross and was one of the first volunteers to run over to our office when the Red Cross gave notice that they were leaving to find out what we were going to do and how he could help. So thank you to Ken for all that he did for Tran and for many organizations throughout the state. I also want to take a moment to recognize a dear rider that has ridden with us for a few years to get to and from dialysis. Many of you may have met her last year, her and her sister Judith, and thank you for coming, Judith. We're one of our guest speakers to tell their story. So I do want to recognize those two individuals for all that they've done for Tran and many in the community. I also want to take a moment to surprise Nikki and recognize her for a recent accomplishment. Some of you may have seen some pictures on Facebook, so come on up here, Nikki. We'll do a local presentation. What do you think, Nikki? 3 years?
It was 3 years.
3 years to go through the full curriculum through the Wisconsin Association of Mobility Managers to become a certified mobility manager. So, congratulations. Okay, sure. So she didn't know I was going to pull that on her today, so congratulations. I'll sneak that back to your desk when we get back. So yeah, we're very proud of her. It's not an easy thing to do. The certification is quite grueling, and there's a lot of things that you need to do, so congratulations, Nikki. As Stan mentioned, we had 2 groups that came about through the Accessible Transportation Community Initiative through Easter Seals. That kept us pretty busy last year. One group, as Stan mentioned, was a group to focus on education and marketing. We kept hearing from folks that they didn't know there were transportation services, don't know how to get around, so we knew we really needed to use some of that funding to tell our story and get folks to know about us. It worked. We were very busy. Some of the funds were used to do social media, gear up our Facebook. So if you haven't liked us yet, please do so. We keep that page really busy, and it's a way to keep people knowing what we're up to. We also were able to work with D&M Productions to do a video project. So there's a number of videos that we have posted on our Facebook page, on our website. We have a YouTube page, and things like that. You'll see a couple of videos today as well. So that was a great opportunity to do those things. We always want to get out and tell our story to groups, organizations, things like that. So if you have a group that you belong to and you feel transportation would be a good topic, staff will travel 7 days a week, so just let us know when your event is and we'll go out and tell folks what's available. The education and marketing efforts put us over 4,500 calls in 2018. We reached 78,000 people through Facebook, website, almost 7,000 brochures, items distributed. And when we look at how many people we reached through press releases, meetings, presentations, we were over 120,000. So again, that opportunity really helped us reach a lot of people. The other part of the Easter Seals grant was focused on coordination and expansion. A couple of things that we were able to do on that side of the project was purchase dispatch software. The system is a shareable system, so if another provider wanted to connect with our network system and use the same dispatch software, they certainly can. Currently, we are using it for our volunteer program. The goal of that purchase was that other providers would use the same system and we can start sharing rides. operate more efficiently among multiple providers. So we're getting there. The big step was finding the right software. We had 2 consultant projects. One was with SRF Consulting Group, which provided a report this past January. What they did for us was look at our overall umbrella of services, so everything that Tran does, Sunshine House, door-to-door rides, and things like that, and they came back with what they propose our plan would be to increase efficiency, gave us some ideas on different funding sources, and they also brought up the fact that it would be really nice if a transportation management type system was set up so that you had multiple providers under one actual umbrella to coordinate services. So that's something that is in the works. The second consultant project was a partnership with the county for Larson and Associates project that is currently reviewing the door-to-door system. And looking at how that may work. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the program. And currently, again, we're looking at the door-to-door system. We've also did rider surveys among multiple providers to see how we're doing and maybe what folks are still needing. So as we go through those surveys, we can look at how we can change our system to work better for the people who use them. So with that, Joe Krebsbach wasn't able to be with us today. He took a vacation. Can you imagine that? So, gee whiz. So I'll be talking during his part of the agenda for public transportation, and we'll talk a little bit more about door-to-door then. Any questions for me at this point in time? All right, then I'm going to turn it over to Kim Gilson, our volunteer coordinator, so she can provide you with an update on what's going on with the veteran and countywide program. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. If you've been to these before, I always start with, I'm not the numbers person, but the numbers are impressive, so we're going to go ahead and start with them anyway. In 2018, Tran volunteer drivers donated $33,257.30 in time. This is why we can continue doing what we do, at least in those 2 programs, and really they spill over to all the others. So I'm very grateful, thankful to our volunteers. Our veteran volunteer transportation program exceeded 1,900 trips since we started back in February of 2011, have served 172 veterans, provided 284 one-way rides this past year, traveling 11,746 miles, covering over 450 hours. That's a lot of time to spend on the road and taking care of people. Totally impressive. Our countywide exceeded 4,266 rides since it began in July of 2012. We provided 1,062 rides in 2018. That's 41,233 miles, 2,099 volunteer hours. Our average cost per loaded mile in 2018 was $1.33. In 2017, it was $1.38, and in 2016, it was $1.56. So again, we become more and more efficient each year as we continue on, and couldn't do it without our volunteers. All of our drivers make a difference, all of them, whether they travel 100 miles or 1,400 miles in a year. 6 drivers in particular put on a lot of miles this year. Of the people that I'm about to mention, the shortest was 600 miles, was all they did, just 600. Up to 1,458. Dale Johnson, Cindy Lino, Cindy's here today, John Skogsbakken, Mike Skipon, Mike's here, Vivian Ninow, and Jim Connop. And I want to say thank you and a round of applause for each of those drivers. As Pam mentioned, part of what we spent our funds on was putting together some videos. These videos, we try to showcase what Tran is all about. If you haven't watched them, definitely do. They're just awesome to watch. I was with Dennis and Mary on the first day of videotaping and the footage. I was overwhelmed. I came back to the office. I had silent tears in my eyes for most of the day. I work with these people every day. I take their phone calls. I know what they're needing when they call. I know what they're asking for. And it's not just the miles, it's someone that they can depend on to make sure they get there to those appointments. And it's such a blessing to be able to say, yep, I've got a driver for that. It's just such a great feeling. And then to sit there in their living rooms and their homes and hear them talking. It wasn't just the drivers, it was the riders. Both sides are being satisfied by this program, and we're really out there making a difference. So this year what I've done, I picked out 2 videos. The first one, the video speaks to our driver satisfaction and the wonderful services they are able to offer our riders, and the satisfaction and joy they have knowing that they've made a difference.
Jim, why do you volunteer for Tran?
But they're good people to work with. Clients are super, outstanding clients. And if they're comfortable, then it's, you know, they'll be calling back again and again.
Doing it together as a husband and wife team has been real special. I'm the navigator.
To get people where they want to go on time, safely, is my priority. So that's why I chose to drive for Tran.
A small way you can impact people, and when you do that, you reap a lot of benefits, and kindness and friendships.
Just have a fun time doing it. It's not work at all.
Yeah. We're not the only ones that share a passion for helping people. There's a lot of people in the organization that really care.
It's not just medical, anything. You want to go anywhere for anything, we can transport you.
I've taken a few times to the casinos.
We can meet the ferry from Washington Island and pick someone up at the ferry dock, and we can take them all the way down to Green Bay. So anybody from the county can go anywhere.
And it's worth it to see the smiles on their face and the thank yous.
One time I transported a gentleman. He called to see if we could go down a half hour early so he could meet his son for breakfast for his birthday. Kim called me up and said, "Can we pull that off?" "Yeah, let's go." I sat in the parking lot while he had breakfast with his son. When he was done, we jumped back in the car and I took him to his appointment. It's stuff like that that makes you smile and makes your day, especially when they say thank you, that was the best ride they had.
Recently, we've had some things come in. We do, like Pam mentioned, we do the surveys. A couple of things that came through was I'm going in for cancer treatments, and it was a relief to have a Tran volunteer driver. You can't get much better compliments than that, to know that it was a relief for someone, to know that we're there to help them. The best part of my life was when I was able to drive for Tran. That was just verbalized in our office this past week. And she meant it. And the person next to her is like, "Yeah, but what about me?" And she's like, she was serious. It was something for her to be able to give back to the community as well as those that we're helping. So it's both ways. We're helping all over the place. So my my second video is speaking more so to the vet program, but covers all of it. So let me show that.
Now, you're a veteran.
I am.
Where, when did you serve?
Vietnam, 67, 68.
And how important is this service to you to live independently?
It's absolutely vital for me, because with my regular checkups and now with my feet issues, I just couldn't get anywhere. I live alone. I have no one to drive me, so if it wasn't for Tran, I wouldn't be able to do the medical stuff I do. The staff at Tran, they actually take the burden off of me of having to plan and set things up. They'll call the VA, they'll arrange appointments, make sure that I can get there.
How about these volunteer drivers?
Well, they're veterans and they're just great guys. We always have a lot to talk about. It makes the whole trip so fun. So many people that are living on fixed incomes that they have to choose between food, rent, or medical care. And this service just makes it a lot easier for them to keep some of that money for other things they need and to and just to get places they couldn't get otherwise. Tran has never ever let me down.
I guess that kind of sums it up for me in a nutshell. I started with the numbers because numbers are important to the people that hold office. And then you got to add the emotion to it because those are the people we're serving. It's not just about numbers. Sometimes we have to put ourselves out there and do things, whether it be volunteering our time or taking money out of our wallet. But the service that we provide is definitely worth it. And I hope to be a part of this for a long time to come. Thank you.
They always make me follow the good stuff. It's all good stuff, but mine is, I don't know, I didn't prepare this whole long speech for this. Every year we reflect. We have to do our reports to different funders and to prepare for our annual meeting and put all those numbers together. And on paper, it's very impressive, but the gut, the heart-wrenching stories, the difference that you make, the tears that are brought in front of you on a practically daily basis by transporting people, that's what matters. So again, our numbers are in here. We do half-price travel and gas vouchers for folks if there's not public transportation available and they're using a private taxi or they're using a wheelchair accessible private taxi after hours can get extremely, extremely costly. Prior to having public transportation in Door County, rides were approximately $12 to $15 across town one way for one stop. So if you had to go to the bank, the grocery store, the post office, you had to walk in between them or pay that extra fee. We started the voucher program to help offset those fees, and we still have that today. People who are working second shift get done at 2 o'clock in the morning. They don't have a lot of options. A lot of them can possibly walk, but we live in northeast Wisconsin and we know how our winters can be. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can call a private taxi, and with an employment transportation, they charge $7 one way. With our voucher program, $3.50 one way. So it makes it very affordable for people to get to and from work. If they couldn't do that, then they might say, I'm not going to work because I can't afford it. So that is a very productive program. It served over 530 people. We do believe that number is probably should be inflated some because we do have multi-purpose. Sometimes we've helped the YMCA transport their kids, the Boys and Girls Club get their kids around. Y-Chip helps a number of people get to and from the island, and those aren't necessarily counted as individual stops at this time. We are making some changes in that, though, to get our numbers on track so that it's an accurate picture. Subsidized over 44,000 trips to date. So quite a savings to our folks here in the county. In 2015, we started the Gas Voucher Program. Again, this is for folks that are traveling to and from work. We gave out a voucher yesterday for someone to put fuel in his tank to get to a job interview down in Green Bay. We will offer that up, a one-time $10 voucher to get them to their destination so that they can find employment and that transportation is not a barrier for them to try and get ahead in life. We know how much having a job can make someone feel part of the community and be able to give back. So with my voucher program,
it doesn't matter what your background is, your salary, or anything. Whatever you need, these ladies will find it for you as far as for transportation purposes.
And how does Tran help you with the vouchers?
Well, I pay $5 and a $6, a pink one and a yellow one, to get picked up from my job and then either to go home or go to appointments.
Every single day I go to work and come home, so I'd be using vouchers every single day. So I'm very privileged and very lucky.
And it helps me get to and from my jobs.
Well, how many jobs do you have?
I have Sunshine House and I have Green Door Thrift and I have the YMCA.
Wow, you're busy.
I know, I love to work.
I'm all alone, so this is a very, very good thing to have, and we're very lucky that we do have it.
Yeah, helps me be more independent, and then I learn like how to do things out in the community.
It's also good, I think, for the cab drivers themselves, you know, the taxi drivers, to have this. I would think that it would increase their patronage.
What else would you like to share about Tran and how much they help you?
Well, they're always on time, and they're really nice people.
If they didn't have this benefit, it'd be a hardship for us all.
It's actually really good to have the people here with us from year to year, but we thought this year we really wanted to showcase these videos. So, you know, please go out and share these videos with other people and show the impact that we are making and our volunteers are making and the funders are making, because without this, we'd have a lot of lonely people. We'd have folks who are looking to work in the community that cannot get to work. So it makes a pretty big impact. One of my other programs, very near and dear to my heart, is the Vehicle Purchase and Repair Loan Program. That one is for vehicles up to $3,000 to purchase, repayment at 18 months, so it brings their payment down to about $170 a month if they're funding the whole thing. And we do repair loans up to $550, and that is payment back in 6 months increments at no interest. So for a lot of these people, they come in and they're like, I didn't think I'd get a loan. I didn't even want to try. I have all this debt. I claimed bankruptcy. I went through a divorce. I had medical problems. I mean, we have a wealth of folks that come through here that you would not expect, but they have poor credit. People are forced to make decisions, and they make sometimes bad decisions at a young age, for whatever reason, one or another, and they end up on the other side of my desk. I understand the stressors of not having reliable transportation, and I think this gives our folks here in the county a lot of independence. Last year we had a little lull in our loan program, but this year already we've closed 3 purchase loans. So that's a pretty big deal. Makes a big impact on those people getting to and from work. It has to be tied to employment transportation, so we ask them to be at least working 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month, and we monitor that through the duration of the loan. Again, we wish we could have the people here to tell you their stories, but we appreciate the time that you're taking to view these videos and let them tell you their stories.
I had a vehicle that was breaking down on me constantly. It was costing me hundreds of dollars every month to fix. It was very scary. It was very, very unsafe.
And what were your options at the time?
Well, stay at a minimum wage job right next door, or work on getting the assistance to make a more feasible life for me and my children.
I didn't think that I would qualify for any kind of loan program, period.
When you're looking at a vehicle for $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 as a used vehicle, banks don't really look at that anymore. They can't loan out money on an older vehicle that maybe does not Blue Book.
It was really easy. I just called and I was emailed an application from Nikki. I talked with her. Within 3 days, I think, she called me and said, oh yeah, it's good to go. Just as long as you have insurance, just find a vehicle. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. No way.
I work with my clients. If they can't make a payment on time, they come in here and they say, oh, my rent's gonna be late. I didn't have as many tips. I'm gonna tell them to pay their rent first. We have 0 interest. Their rent might charge them a $50 late fee, whatever it takes to help them and not put that added pressure on them.
What's your next step? What's your next hope?
To buy another vehicle, maybe expand a little bit on my business, maybe get a second vehicle for somebody else to be driving and going to work with me.
We have good chit-chats when I'm here. I'm here for a good 10, 20 minutes with her.
That's like free therapy.
For both of us.
They were very willing to work with me and not hold it against me.
Words can't even say how much it's helped me get to where I am.
And where's that?
Well, upgrading 3 vehicles. I've upgraded my house 3 times. I'm now buying my own home. Going from a job every other 6 months to having 3 jobs for well over 5 years. I've gone far. We've gone far.
That's an amazing, amazing thing, is being told, yeah, you know, that you can do it.
Super easy to come to work every day when you're helping people like that. And I want you guys to know, okay, I'm still going to tear up over this because I do, because I'm a sap. These people, it affects more than just these women or these men who are on the other side of my counter. These are single parents. Their kids get to go to sporting events. Their kids get to go to the open house at school because their parents can get them there. And so you're impacting a generation and another generation and another generation. And we're trying to break some of those walls of poverty. So kudos to anyone that supports these programs. Kudos to anyone that talks about these programs, that uses these programs, that can do better because of these programs. And kudos to all the partners in the rooms that are referring people over and, you know, making those referrals to us so that we can help more and more every year. Thank you.
I was tearing up too, Nikki. So the great part was, you know, D&M put together these beautiful videos, and then they would send them to us so that we could view them and tell them what we wanted, you know, edited and things. And we could always tell when one of us was playing them. We'd hear the video and then grabbing the Kleenex, right? It's a great place to work, and really knowing we're a big part of the community and making changes has been wonderful. Again, Joe wasn't able to be with us this morning. He was going to be covering public transportation, so I'll just be providing a little bit of an update. Public transportation in Door County is door-to-door rides. Door-to-door rides is not Tran. We are separate entities. However, we work very, very closely together. Door-to-door rides is a federal, state, county-funded program. It has been in the news quite a bit lately. So a little bit of an update. The system is going to make some changes in 2020 based on how it's built. Because of those changes, Gwen Larson, again, who is the consultant that is working with us in the county to review that system, they're projecting in 2020, the county may need to come up with a local share of $160-some thousand. It's $1 million system, which provides over 42,000 rides a year. I just got the numbers from Robin for the first quarter of the year, and it provided almost 11,000 trips. So the number's not going down, it's going up. It's a system that is available 7 days a week. It's wheelchair accessible. When we look at the rides that it's providing, it's elderly individuals, individuals with disability, 8% youth. Just my daughter came home from school yesterday saying, door-to-door rides came up. Evidently, she was in her math class, and the teacher was saying, gosh, you know, is there any Uber drivers around here? And they're like, I think we have one. And then she said one of her friends spoke up and said, why do we need Uber? We have door-to-door rides. So there's, you know, high schoolers already saying door-to-door is the system that I use. I don't need Uber or whatever else, which I think is pretty big. It certainly speaks to, as our youth age in our community, they're going to want a system to get them around. As we look at trips that door-to-door has provided, a lot of those trips are to work. We just had a driver in yesterday saying, he made 3 stops at McDonald's already? 7 or 8 stops in a day just to McDonald's for work. We're not even getting to the industrial park and things like that. So it keeps people moving in our community. It's difficult, though. We don't know if we'll have it in 2020. Joe provided the county board with 3 recommendations. One recommendation is to keep the system as is and find the money. The second recommendation was eliminate the system altogether and go back to only having the ADRC bus. The ADRC bus provides about 6,000 rides per year. Big difference to make 42,000 trips. The third recommendation to the county board is to reduce the system significantly, reducing from 440 hours per week that it currently is at to a 200-hour per week system. Also shrinking the service area from almost countywide right now back down to the original core area of Sturgeon Bay. Big changes. In 2017, I believe, they reduced the service by 76 hours. They've seen the on-met decline trips increase. If they're going to decrease by 76 hours and have declined rides increase, what's going to happen when they reduce the system over 50%? So it's a scary time. Tran certainly advocates for keeping door-to-door rides as is. We are also advocating that that system be operated perhaps through a contract or dedicated county staff person to do transportation management. That was something in both consultant projects that were suggested. I think looking at efficiencies, how all of our programs can work together, maybe we can keep some of those projected local match monies down. But first we have to save the system, is my thought. So again, you know, Nikki mentioned prices of taxis and things like that. We work closely with the hospital through our voucher program as well. We have folks who perhaps take an ambulance ride to the emergency room, but now they're being discharged at 10 o'clock at night and they need a wheelchair transport. They had already took a couple of trips with one wheelchair accessible provider from the hospital to Sturgeon Bay Living Center was about $80. So that's specialized transit. We're very fortunate to have that provider available. But when you look at $80 versus $1.75 with door-to-door, that's a huge difference. My fear is that if door-to-door were to go away, we're going to have folks not being able to get to work. So now what are those employers who are already short-staffed going to do? We're going to have individuals perhaps who can't get to medical appointments. What does that do for their health in the future and ongoing? Or perhaps, you know, we've already heard from Aaron at Emergency Services. They get calls sometimes, they think the ambulance will get them to their doctor appointment, which is why Aaron's a part of our board, is so that we can work together to make sure those individuals that they're going out to that don't need an ambulance use Tran or door-to-door. So certainly, you know, all of those things are scary. We're seeing trips to Sevastopol School, Sturgeon Bay School. Again, our youth are using the system. As an aging community, I don't see door-to-door trips going down anytime soon. If anything, the need is going to rise. So I'm hopeful that anybody who has input on door-to-door, I hope that they're calling their county board supervisor, city council members. I hope that they're writing letters to let them know their thoughts about door-to-door. And I also invite you all to show up at the county board meeting on May 28th. It'll be at 9 a.m. at the Government Center in the county board chambers, and that is when they will vote on the 3 recommendations. So I think if the community can speak out however you're able to, it would be greatly appreciated. I think the loss of door-to-door would be devastating for our community. Any questions about door-to-door? Oh, Christine's holding up a postcard that we printed up last week, just reminding people of the date and time of the meeting on May 28th. It also has the link if you want to find who your county board supervisor is in your area. You can go to that and find that out as well. If you ever have any questions, want to provide input to us, please feel free to do so. Some folks prefer to send me their letter, and then I forward it on to the full county board and the county administrator. Tran and United Way has been asked by the county to fundraise for door-to-door rides. I think their hope is if they can see some community contributions, they might, it'll be less that they have to find, but also I think, want to see buy-in from the community. And we're starting to see that. Yesterday we received a $10,000 pledge, $2,000 a year for 5 years from Pick and Save. They basically sent the letter saying, we know our employees and our customers are using your service. We will pledge if you can save it. So again, we've only been working on that, Amy, maybe 3 weeks, and we're already seeing responses. So again, I think I covered everything that I wanted to on that. Does anybody have any additional comments or questions about door-to-door? No? All right. On behalf of Sheriff Tammy Sternard, we have Lieutenant Vieser here today, who is going to talk about how we work with them for our half-price travel vouchers and their exciting program, Operation Fresh Start. So thank you.
So I'm kind of learning this thing too. I'm new to it. About 2 months into my reign as lieutenant, I served since 2006 with the Sheriff's Department, so I got an idea of how things go in that. I guess I'm learning more about the door-to-door type thing. I didn't know how it was connected, but just being here, I'm realizing the big picture of it. We use door-to-door all the time, basically in the jail during the week, that kind of thing, when we can set up them rides. Just getting people to and from work, getting them home, that kind of stuff. So door-to-door has been a huge help for the jail, the Sheriff's Department, that kind of thing. Just, I mean, even the patrol-wise, I work patrol too, so I see it on that side. Being able to get these people rides to certain places when they need to be there, that kind of thing. Sometimes we're able to bring them around a little bit, but it ties up our time a little bit too. So we do have to get the taxis or the door-to-door, that type of thing. Going to the vouchers, really the reason I'm here was just to kind of talk about them. Before me, they talked about the voucher system, the half-price vouchers, and typically we try to use door-to-door as much as we can, but it doesn't always work to go that route because it's we have a 24/7 job that in the middle of the night, door-to-door doesn't typically run. It's hard to get a hold of that type of thing, but the voucher system works well for us just because we're able to get the rides to work in the middle of the night. Obviously, we are in Wisconsin and Door County especially, the winters do get a little bit rough, so we do need to get these people to their jobs or from their jobs and that kind of thing. And the price of a cab, as we all know, isn't real cheap. And sometimes for these people just to get to and from their jobs, I mean, you're talking an hour of their work just to pay for a cab. That's not reasonable, really. So with the voucher system, they are able to get the half-price rides. How it works for us is the cab company ultimately bills the jail, and then the jail takes that money out of the inmate's account. Typically, if it's a Huber or something like that, they have money on their account, so it comes out depending what the price of the ride is. They just take that 50% is what we're billed, and that's what we ultimately bill the inmates. I think that kind of covers the voucher system. Does anybody have questions from the Sheriff's Department from the vouchers before I get a little bit into Operation Fresh Start? Easy crowd today. We don't have a whole lot of questions. It's good because I'm not sure I could answer them anyway.
I'm right here at a help you guys.
Yeah. So unfortunately got me and not Sheriff Sternard. She typically knows a little more about what's going on. She did run the jail for quite a while. So I'm just kind of learning this Operation Fresh Start program. Like I said, it's been 2 months, so I got a whole bunch of other stuff that I have to learn first. But working with our mental health and human services, I'm able to get at least a grasp of how it works and that kind of thing. But basically, what it is it's a collaborative community effort which seeks to improve a path basically for our inmates to educate them, mentor them, and get them into the real world employment and that kind of thing. Basically what we do is we're getting these inmates ready for when they get out. It's not necessarily when they're here in our facility, it's for when they get out into the real world and they have to learn what work is, what education is, and that kind of thing, and how we get them there. How we do it is there's different, basically a battery of different areas where they're taught different things and that kind of thing. And how do we teach them? It's not necessarily our jail staff teaching them. It's not our mental health always teaching them. It's community effort. So we're getting these instructors who are volunteering their time coming into our facility and teaching these people employment opportunities, financial type things, how to utilize their money in the best way, and that kind of thing. And we're always looking for instructors, so if you have some sort of skill that you're willing to share, reach out to us and we can see what we can do to get you into the facility, teaching that kind of thing. Some of the different skills that they're learning, educational needs, through the NWTC, we have the GED program, the HSED program, that kind of thing. So they are getting that through the jail. Mental health services, employment skills, I mentioned a little bit, communication skills, healthy relationships. And I talked about financial education a little bit. And then ultimately how it works is we want to get them integrated in the community. So how do we do that? We work with human services. Fortunately, Taylor is here. Taylor Janman works with human services, and on Friday she comes into the jail and she works with these inmates just for when they get released into the real world. Then they ultimately work with human services to set up appointments, to set up educational things and such and so forth to get them really integrated into the community. So how do we really get these people? Typically it's worked through our mental health program within the jail. We have 24 or 40 hours of mental health services in the jail. So our mental health is working with these inmates constantly. So they may get referrals from our jail staff. They may get referrals from mental health itself. They may get referrals from the outside, family members or whatever it may be. That's how they get involved in this Operation Fresh Start program. And then, like I said, it becomes a big stepping stone for them to ultimately make it in the community. I believe we have 3 that's successful. Is that right, Taylor? Yeah, I think it's 3 right now that successfully went through the whole entire program and are out in the community. And I don't believe they've actually came back to jail since they've been out of it. So that's a good thing. So I think ultimately interaction-wise, I mean, when we look at the 3, it may not look, it may not be the huge number, but interaction-wise, we're on a yearly basis. I think in 2018, the program attempted or reached out to nearly 600 people, but they don't, obviously the jail, I mean, we're housing 80 people a day, so that number continually fluctuates in that, and a lot of these people are only here for a short time. So it's really the ones that are making it through this program are the ones that are here for a long period of time and can continue the modules and make it through the whole system. So it's a good thing when we see the amount of people that were reached out, because usually then people are only the ones that are there for a short time. We don't want our numbers ultimately finishing the program at a high number just because that means we got people in jail for long periods of time. So. With that, I think everybody get a grasp of the Operation Fresh Start system. But is there any questions or anything that I can answer, or maybe Taylor could answer for you from the human services standpoint of it? Really? Thank you. And really, I think the jail has taken that proactive approach over the years. More than anything, our society is really becoming more of a, let's get these people interacting, getting back into the real world and not just incarcerating them type thing. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And Taylor, kind of. So it's always fun to hear great work in the community, so we thought that the Sheriff's Department would be a perfect guest speaker this year, so thank you. It's exciting. I do want to thank, I forgot to earlier, I want to thank Bev Sperber and Michael Bean, who did all of the cooking this morning, so thank you. right, awards. So this is where we want to recognize some individuals and our Partner of the Year. Betsy Bear has been on the board since May of 2014 and is an active event committee member since 2015. Betsy shares her bubbly personality, knowledge of student needs, and can be relied on for help. We appreciate her time and talents very much. And I forgot to bring a bag of candy for you, Betsy. But I have something else, so come on up. Thank you, Betsy. Hi. Hi. I've had the honor of working with Betsy years ago at the Job Center. And I was
out of college.
Yeah, I was very happy when she joined our board. I was like, yay, I get to work with Betsy again in another capacity.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh, no. I'm just
Okay.
lucky to be a part of it, so.
Thank you. Okay. One other thing, if all of the folks who receive awards today could stay after for a little bit, we'd like to do a group photo. Partner of the Year, we work quite closely with NWTC, and we work with them even more now that they have the Women's Fund program that I'm forgetting the name of. Thank you. So we work with them quite often on students who perhaps want to pursue education but aren't sure how to get there, or maybe their vehicle breaks down and they need to come and meet with Nikki. So we've been working with them closely. NWTC supports us quite a bit throughout the years. For letting Betsy be on our board. As Liz mentioned earlier, that is a volunteer position, so NWTC does allow for her to help with that. We also work closely with them for their learning and retirement program and some of their event fairs and things like that. So we appreciate their support and everything that they do to help us spread the word and help those who need our services. If Cheryl and Betsy could come up, please. Thank you, Cheryl. There you go.
2 times in one day. It's my bad side. Can we do the other side?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
I'm also the comedic relief.
All right, so Kim, do you want to come on up?
Vivian is our driver of the year, having put in well over 1,000 miles and driving every week for dialysis, plus some extra drives to keep her busy while she waited. I can call or email a list and know that Vivian will have those trips covered. I look forward, well, actually, we all look forward to receiving the trip logs when she's done with them. She started just over a year ago, back in October, with little decoration on her trip log. It's October, we found there was a spider on it, and so the spider continued, and then it changed to Christmas decorations and Easter decorations and babies, puppy. It's just kind of fun to see what Vivian's coming up with next. But most of all, we do really appreciate her coming on with us. She started out, her first phone call was saying that she had a neighbor that was going through dialysis and she wanted to be a part of the team that helped with that. And that was Charlene that we talked about earlier. Thank you, Vivian. Come on up. Sure.
Okay. It all started out quite accidentally. It was October, and they were getting my trip logs, and there was this little spider on them. What they didn't realize, it was a real spider that had climbed into my printer onto the scanner screen and died, kind of splat. So you could still see all the legs and tell it was a spider. And when I realized it was there, it was the end of October, so I left it for another week. Figured it was quite appropriate. And then when she said how much they appreciated the spider, I thought, well, now I have to come up with other things. But it has been a joy. It was a joy. I started out with Charlene Rice. She was just a treat. She was just such a wonderful, lovely lady. It was a joy to take her. And she was so bubbly and talkative. And it was fun. And Mike, she loved how good of care you took of her, how considerate you were of her. And so it's good to meet you. I heard a lot about you over the years. And it's just been a joy to work with this organization. The ladies are always so helpful, and you just know if you've got a problem, they're going to solve it for you, because that's what Tran does. It solves problems, fills needs. And once I got involved, and then it was like they started asking me to take other people. I mean, obviously, I just signed up initially because Charlene, who I knew and loved, needed help. And as they asked for at first I was like, well, that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it's like, I thought, when Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan, that Good Samaritan didn't know that guy. And so he calls us to reach out to people we don't know to, and that's what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Dean and Judy Krieger. 5 years ago, they were recruited by Ken Wendt. Wasn't us. Ken was out there doing our job for us, and it was wonderful. And again, it was for dialysis for someone that they first came on, and they were going to help with that. And they got recruited into the veteran program and into the countywide trips. And Judy's made and contributed to the annual fundraiser. And we just keep asking more and more of them, and they keep giving more and more of themselves. And we thank you both. Please come on up.
And Judy makes beautiful infant bath pants.
Yeah, that's for 5 years. They've been working with us for 5 years. That's for you guys too. So thank you.
Thank you.
I can't. There's another driver that is not here with us today. He's at home. Joe Heilmann, 5 years ago. He was also recruited by Ken Wendt, helping with dialysis, doctor's appointment. There was a woman that had recently found herself as a shut-in. So it was a short notice thing, and he was able to step in and help. And Joe can also be found helping with tax preparations each spring. So again, our volunteers reaching out and doing more and more every year. So thank you to Joe.
I would like to take time to recognize our next volunteer who has been with us for over 5 years. She helps us out in the office with administrative work, and we can trust her to with basically anything. She certainly keeps us up to date on a lot of our projects and special projects, and she's also assembled office furniture with me without her twice. So hopefully we don't need to ever make that coffee table cabinet again, because that really threw us in a loop. We spent a lot of time on the floor that day. So Barb Schaefer, if you could please come up, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you. to put the office for, as long as it's not the coffee cabinet with the strange doors. We're there for you, Kathy. So I also want to recognize Reverend David Lystra, who has been on our board of directors, and his tenure is ending, so he is needing to leave our board. But David, if you want to come on up. David joined our board just after he created a very neat partnership with the Sunshine House. So do you want to talk about it, or should I go ahead? You want to hear what I'm saying? I met with David and his wife and Pete Bossman a number of years ago, and in meeting with them, I knew we needed to get him on our board. He understood transportation barriers, and not everybody does. You know, he's got his own vehicle, so why should he even worry about transportation? But he was seeing people aren't able to get to the Sunday services. They use door-to-door rides, but they're based on the number of people needing transport, it wasn't meeting the need. So David worked with the Sunshine House and got together a group of volunteers who are going to the church service. They borrow a Sunshine House van on a Sunday morning, and they go through Anna's, and where all are they going through now? Okay, private homes, Pinecrest, Dorchester. So they get the bus on a Sunday morning, and they make their loop to different individuals who wouldn't make it to service and who need that wheelchair accessible bus. So kudos to David for starting that system, and to Sunshine House for opening up their fleet of buses for this need. I mean, it's truly a great partnership. And we've enjoyed David on our board of directors. He's helped out in a number of capacities, and was available for personnel committee, fundraising committee, and I forget which other one, but very active, and we appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you. That concludes our meeting this morning. Any questions or anything that we didn't cover? Okay, if the volunteers could stick around for a picture too, that would be great. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I truly appreciate you taking the time to see what we're doing and what we're all about and where we're headed. So thank you. And go to the meeting on May 28th. Okay.
Thank you.